This is your local Ansible relay station, KPRO 541 Nightfall, KLFT 750 Warren, KTWN 527 Amarath, KWET 756 Mem, or ask your Urbot AI to play Procyon Relay. The Ansible is the most valuable artifact in our sector and possibly the quadrant. We need a strong hegemonic presence to protect and support it. Procyon's new governor on the Ansible and his plans for the sector. Today is ĵaŭdo 260s, and this is Stellar Analysis from HNN. I'm Jeric. And I'm Quinton Feris. Ahead this hour, the dissolution of shuttle rental firm MegaHertz and whether the restitution is enough for those spurned by the firm.
MegaHertz came in with all its new equipment and that damn monopoly. Ran that out of business overnight.
Also, a conversation with the woman the Sah'iir have chosen to be the security commander of their chancery on Nightfall.
The Sah'iir are uninterested in snatching people from their beds like some sort of intergalactic boogeyman.
Plus, Conway Orcutt on Life After's long-running program, The Khan's Way. Now, this news. Live from HNN on Nightfall, I'm Brant Pike. Today, the Hegemony celebrates the activation of the Ansible. Discovered 2 weeks ago by contractors for the Sah'iir, the Ansible was installed on planet Nightfall of the outlying Procyon sector yesterday. The installation was completed amidst an attempted coup d'etat by the recently disposed governor of Procyon. The precursor artifact is capable of transmitting over dark hyperspace lanes without the use of a gate. Hegemonic authorities will regulate private usage of the Ansible. However, public anycast rights were granted to the Hegemonic News Network. HNN owner Chinzo says you can expect more than just news. HNN is known for its top-notch news programming in Procyon. Listeners who enjoy our cultural programs like The Khan's Way with Conway Orcutt can look forward to more live programming. Sporting events, concerts, and a variety show will all be launched this quarter. HNN has always shown the best Procyon has to offer and is excited to welcome the core and other sectors to its live audience. With universal real-time transmission, the Ansible promises to usher in a new, more connected era for the hegemony. The Counters Guild raised the fortnight lending rate to 28.9%, an increase of 0.2%. Torx Veron stated the change is in response to the increasing instability of the outlying sectors.
The Counters Guild ex-core operations experienced a net loss this quarter caused by a one-time write-down and subsequent divestment of exclusive rights in Procyon sector. Valuation was influenced by expansion difficulties unique to Procyon sector and unanticipated changes in the larger political environment. We expect to maintain the current fortnight lending rates until we are confident the outer sectors have recovered from these recent events and are on track to achieve maximum productivity.
Leadership shakeups continue across the outlying sectors as the hegemony executes a second wave of governor appointments. 4 additional House Malklaith members are being replaced after the explosive removal of Ritam al-Malklaith from Procyon sector last week. The House has been out of favor for years, and authorities say now is the time for action.
The Malklaiths disgraced themselves in Procyon, failing to inform the hegemon of Lost Legion activity and refusing to step down when ordered. As punishment, all Malklaith governorships have been rescinded. House members who refuse to cooperate will be executed and tried.
In FinTech, a strong opening for the core Imperial Composite, climbing nearly 600 points before closing at 18,634. The Independent Worlds Index was down 20 points today. I'm Brant Pike, HNN on Nightfall. Good afternoon, I'm Cyrus Tan with KPRO News. The Starsmiths Guild Procyon cleanup campaign continues. Catcher ships will trawl Nightfall's orbits over the next few weeks. Tonight, they are scheduled to sweep the geostationary orbit from 70 to 90 degrees longitude. Any satellites in this band must be moved to a temporary orbit by 2400 tonight. Satellites can be returned to their designated latitude starting at 0800 tomorrow. Satellites that are not moved risk being swept up with the rest of the space junk. Residents of Lithios' Colony 13 have again been instructed to evacuate due to equipment failure. Applied climatologist Dr. Ayaz Wayark says it may take up to a week to repair the mirror. Residents of Colony 13 are instructed to secure their habitat for brumination and proceed to their designated emergency assembly point. Aketi's future as a nature preserve has been called into question with the transition of gubernatorial power. The former Malklaith governorship designated Aketi a nature preserve as one of its first acts. The edict did not address Base Camp 1, a long-standing military installation. Robin Gabriel, leader of the Free Aketi movement, called for Base Camp 1's closure at the time.
Aketi just wants to be left alone, man. You can't, be there with weapons. You gotta be, one with nature. If you just chill out, nature will, chill out with you. Smooth highs, man. No Base Camp 1.
Robin was found dead on Aketi yesterday. His body could not be removed from the mentioned Fresende Fangrebe digesting it. System police stated they would not investigate the death as, quote, citizens enter the Aketi Reserve at their own risk. Procyon's new capital, Nightfall, shares the Breck system with Aketi. Base Camp 1 seems poised to rise in importance thanks to its new neighbor. In the past 10 days, smuggler arrests have doubled and many research passes have been revoked. Both the governor and the legionnaires declined to comment on Aketi's future. This is KPRO News.
Support for HNN comes from Scum and Villainy, a Forged-in-the-Dark role-playing game from Off Guard Games. Play a member of a spaceship crew trying to make ends meet under the harsh but ultimately fair rule of the galactic hegemony. Take part in imaginary heists, chase, escapes, and other high adventure among the stars. Learn more at offguardgames.com.
It's 1606. From the Hegemonic News Network, this is Stellar Analysis. I'm Jeric.
And I'm Quinton Feris. With the military and governing house of Procyon sector in tatters, the Hegemony has sent in a new governor and new forces to protect the Ansible. Nichols al-Nimamar, formerly of the Concordant Knights, was appointed governor pro tem immediately after the Battle of Nightfall. He joins us now. Welcome.
Glad to be here, Quinton.
Your appointment comes at a difficult moment in Procyon's history. What's your first priority?
Securing Nightfall and moving the capital here. The Ansible is the most valuable artifact in our sector and possibly the quadrant. We need a strong hegemonic presence to protect and support it. Luckily, the 4th Special Operations Group has agreed to stay in Procyon until new legion can be assembled in our sector.
Will you be handling any of the aftermath of the battle?
The Diplomat Empire Way line is escorting all House Malklaith members still in Procyon to stand trial at the core. Discipline of the 51st Legionnaires will be determined by the 4th Special Operations Group JAG Division. I'm confident the duplicitous parties will be tried and executed.
Executed?
Of course I meant their sentences would be executed. To be clear, this is all out of my hands.
Your house used to rule Procyon. What's it like to be back?
It's good to be back. The Nimamars left Procyon when our towns were needed elsewhere. As I recall, rule has passed through 3 houses since, the latest being House Malklaith. Obviously, Ritam was not up for the challenges of Procyon. The Ansible's real-time communication capabilities make Procyon more important than ever before. Each dark hyperspace lane we connect to the Ansible means another system graced by direct hegemonic rule. My house is honored that the hegemon looked to us for this command.
Why did House Nimamar choose you for this post?
I've actually been in Procyon for a few months now and have come to know it well. I was brought here by my mission with the Concordant Knights. We took an oath, sanctified by the hegemon, to find the light of the world. This artifact can bring light and life back to worlds that have been overcome by darkness. I have a different oath now, that of the governorship, but the Ansible may be the artifact I was looking for to bring the light. At least, that's what I'm telling myself. My days of jetting around the galaxy, tracking down artifacts, they're behind me. As governor, I will extend every courtesy to the knights so they may fulfill their oath. The remaining knights are strong, and I have every confidence in them.
Are you sure that's wise? Other members of the Concordant Knights have previously collaborated with the Mendicants.
The Knights' interaction with the Mendicants was pure intelligence gathering.
And the Mendicants have all sorts of radical friends. The Maelstrom Pirates,
now that
even
is
the Lost
unfair.
Legion.
We have no relation to the Lost Legion.
But the Mendicants do, Governor. There are other organizations that provide free medical care without the unfortunate political history that the Mendicants have. Doctors Without Jump Gates comes to mind. Why not support them instead of the Mendicants?
That's not what I said. The Concordant Knights would receive resources to further their quest bestowed upon them by the Hegemon.
And that aid may be passed to other organizations with known ties to the Lost Legion.
Look, as a leader, you want to work with your allies, but that's not always possible. Information can be hard to come by. Items may be stolen despite your best security efforts. Or maybe your forces just won't arrive in time. Sometimes you have to work with mercenaries, contractors, or even enemies. You need to know their goals, keep watch. If they work against you, wipe them out. If not, keep things friendly. Inevitably, they need the Hegenomy's opportunities more than the Hegemony needs them. They do a few more favors and come to the realization that their most valuable relationship is, and has always been, with the Hegemony. And that is how you make an ally, not by fear, but by mutual benefit.
That's all well and good, but surely some factions should never be brought into the fold. Could you commit right now on air that your government will not, either directly or indirectly through factions like the Mendicants, aid the Lost Legion?
Of course. The hegemonic government will not, at my direction, give the Lost Legion aid directly or indirectly.
I'm sure our listeners are relieved to hear that.
I'm sure.
Nichols al-Nimamar is Governor Pro Tem of Procyon Sector. Thank you for your time, Governor.
You're welcome.
The installation of Governor Pro Tem Nichols al-Nimamar was supposed to remain secret until the ceremony was broadcast live on this station. Somehow, House Malklaith and the false hegemon learned of the appointment and flew to Nightfall to seize the seat for themselves. The 51st Legion stopped these usurpers, but not before taking heavy casualties. It's being called the Battle of Nightfall, and here to help us make sense of it all is HNN's new military correspondent, Zale Bartok. Hey, Zale.
Ew.
So, the Battle of Nightfall had a large number of belligerents: the 51st Legion, House Malklaith, the Lost Legion, a Sah'iir mercenary group, and the shuttle rental firm MegaHertz. Who was left standing after the dust settled? And, I suppose more importantly, was there a real victor?
Well, you see, no one was really left standing after the dust settled. Every one of the factions that you mentioned have taken some very serious casualties and a very serious recovery time that they're going to have to go through now. But the real victor, I think, was the people. No longer will they have to worry about coup attempts from so-called one true hegemons or anything. But more importantly, I think most importantly, they no longer have to worry about being under the monopolistic thumb of MegaHertz. That's the real victory here.
Yes, certainly. We've all had problems with MegaHertz in the past.
Some more than others, let's say.
Ah, yes. You said all of these forces are basically destroyed at this point. So if there were to be another coup attempt, who would be able to prevent it? I know the 4th Special Operations Group is continuing to remain in Procyon Sector, but are they really prepared to stop a coup?
The 4th Special Operations Group is a very highly trained group of soldiers. They can definitely protect the Procyon Sector. They may not be able to fight an all-out war, but they're willing to stop a coup attempt, and I think they're definitely able to. I wouldn't worry too much.
Well, I think it is putting everyone at ease that the 4th Special Operation Group is remaining in Procyon for the time being.
It's certainly putting me at ease.
By now, many have seen the footage of dozens of MegaHertz agents scaling the fence surrounding the Capital Weapon Complex and charging in with squeegees and the like. What in the world was MegaHertz doing in this conflict? Surely not defending its shuttles. Any damage would be shouldered by the renter, given MegaHertz's notoriously stingy insurance policies. Can you offer any insight into this strange combatant?
MegaHertz, as we all know, is a group of clones, a corporation of clones. We believe that there may have been some problem with the original clone, and that these clones have a limited lifespan, and they may have been lashing out in an attempt to save themselves. Somehow, they connected themselves to the Lost Legion, and let's say that was a big mistake.
So MegaHertz was connected to the Lost Legion. That leads some interesting questions for those that were supporting MegaHertz, the Counters Guild and others.
Well, let's just say we're going to have to keep a close eye on them, I think. Maybe some investigations have to go on to see what was really going on with MegaHertz, and what's really going on with the Counters Guild and all those guys.
possibly the biggest open investigation is that of the use of the capital weapon on Nightfall. It took out 2 ships, House Malklaith's frigate and the 51st Legion's own dreadnought, the Scorpio. What do you think could have happened on the ground to cause this terrible friendly fire incident?
We're not really sure here. There's still, like you said, an open investigation getting sorted out. An anonymous source has told me that maybe the 51st Legion Scorpio had a faulty IFF component in it. Maybe someone skimmed off the real IFF components and sold it on the black market and gave them some faulty components. You know, the important thing is that nobody really knows what's happened. And I don't think anyone's going to find out what really happened, at least not for quite some time.
Military grift. Don't you have some insight into that?
I want to stress that nothing was proven ever. However, I was, shall we say, not honorably discharged after some shipments went missing. But again, nothing was proven. I'm not accused of anything, but I was forced out of the military for skimming off the top, yes.
The governor has approved the Sah'iir's request to have their own security force protecting the Ansible, much to the chagrin of the Breck police. What does this mean for the future of the military and system police? Will every guild, firm, and cult have its own mercenary force?
You know, I think that might be the way of the future, at least a temporary future, as the 51st Legion and, you know, all of those guys rebuild themselves. I think it might be wise and prudent for mercenary forces to come out of the woodworks. I have some background in that as well. And if anyone wants to look me up, definitely I can provide some consulting services. But for right now, I think that the Chancery is a very special case. And I know the Chancery Security Commander, Mara Endecourt, will ensure that everything runs very smoothly and very peacefully.
That's good to hear. It's maybe the first time that the Hegemony has given territory to a Xenos race. But again, it will be nice to know that there's a human in charge of security there.
Well, I, for one, have complete trust in the Sah'iir, whether or not it's a human in charge or not. The Sah'iir are very wonderful, very good species.
You have some experience with them?
Yes, I've had some dealings with them, and all my dealings have been very peaceful and always been very good, shall we say.
So, I have to ask you, do you know what's under their hoods?
I don't think anyone knows what's under their hoods. I don't think they know.
Well, maybe they don't. Zale Bartok, thanks for speaking with me today.
Oh, no, thank you.
That was HNN's Zale Bartok. You're listening to Stellar Analysis from HNN.
And hearing it on 54.1 KPRO. It's 16:18 on a ĵaŭdo afternoon. Corin Zavir is here to tell us about the traffic. Hi, Corin.
Hi, Cyrus. The Rinacliptus jump gate is still offline after a ship impacted its outer ring early this morning. The Starsmiths have been on site for 8 hours and estimate repairs will be completed shortly. In the meantime, we've heard a crew of cute ships are going EVA for sandworm kebabs from a food shuttle also stuck in the queue.
I could go for a sandworm kebab right now.
Well, Cyrus, don your spacesuit and thrust on over to queue position 3 of 45.
I might just do that. Thanks, Corin.
You're welcome, Cyrus. Support for KPRO traffic comes from the Starsmiths Guild. I'm Corin Zavir.
Coming up, a new option for charitable medical care that started right here in Procyon sector.
My entire life I felt an obligation to care for others. And especially in my travels on the Star Dancer, I noticed that healthcare was not consistently available across the sector. I feel that everyone should have healthcare regardless of species or affiliations.
We hear from Dr. Nita Hill, founder of Doctors Without Jump Gates, just ahead at 16:35. Support for our programming comes from
Collude Academy, where students repair jump gates with superlumineers and interns treat patients at the Xeno-Otolaryngology Clinic. Need and merit-based fealty scholarships available to all students. Collude Academy, Shemaya, Mike Kilo 29er X-Ray. And the Guild of Engineers,
reminding all hegemonic citizens to adhere to their Urbot's preventative maintenance schedule. Talk to an engineer today on SB-176 in the RIN system. Dark and rainy here in Yaw and a balmy 15 degrees. The next daybreak occurs in 23 minutes. Yaw will see daylight from 1642 to 2248. After that, we'll see a 3-hour night from Alfina and Faye. Tomorrow, clear skies with a high of 20 degrees.
This program brought to you by the Counters Guild, now offering bespoke vault construction services. Store your valuables in a private repository designed by Counters Guild security engineers. Available for terrestrial installation or far orbit deployment. The Counters Guild. Your money is safely in our hands. The Legionnaires, now recruiting for the new 52nd Legion to be based in Procyon sector. Positions are available in piloting, logistics, engineering, medical, justice, and command. More information available at the Legionnaires Recruitment Office on Warren.
This is Stellar Analysis from HNN. I'm Jeric Zan.
And I'm Quinton Feris.
The Sah'iir's presence on Nightfall is a unique one. The Hegemony has granted the Sah'iir extraterritorial jurisdiction. Visitors of the Ansible installation will be subject to Sah'iir, not hegemonic law. Here to talk about the enforcement of that law is Chancery Security Commander Mara Endecourt. Commander Endecourt, welcome to Stellar Analysis.
Thank you. Feel free to call me Mara.
Certainly, Mara. To start with, what is Sah'iir law, and how does it differ from hegemonic law? Anything we should be mindful to avoid?
I think that the biggest difference is probably the emphasis on collectivism. The Sah'iir are much more interested in the well-being of the majority over the well-being of the few.
So, will they be forcibly taken into a collective if they were visiting the Ansible?
Hardly. If you're visiting any of the Sah'iir territories, I would say that you face much less of a threat of kidnapping than you would in, say, someplace like Nightfall. The Sah'iir are uninterested in snatching people from their beds like some sort of intergalactic boogeyman. It's not something that you need to worry about whenever you're walking down a dark alleyway at night, regardless of where you're at. The Sah'iir are uninterested in you.
Well, that's good to know. But still, the question remains, why do the Sah'iir need their own security force? Do they not trust the system police or the military?
Well, let me ask you this. After the absolute catastrophe on Nightfall, would you trust our military? Would you trust our system police? I had interactions with, I believe, total 3 lieutenants. And I can say that for Lieutenant Liara, she did the best with the orders that she was given. She was a competent woman, and I absolutely would have hired her myself. However, I can't speak for the leadership that she found herself under. The most memorable was a man named Lieutenant Thrace. He absolutely baffled me, but he seemed hell-bent on ignoring any sort of guidance, any sort of order, and he was going to do whatever he felt like doing in that moment. Why he fixated on me and my company, I don't understand, and I don't think I ever will understand.
Lieutenant Thrace was mentioned prominently in many of the 51st Legion's court-martial depositions.
I'm sorry, the depositions? After the Battle of Nightfall?
Yes, there are many courts-martial in progress. The 4th Special Operations Group, JAG Division, is handling those.
I'm so sorry. Are you telling me that Lieutenant Thrace did not die in the Battle of Nightfall?
Looking at one of the depositions here, he was marked down as killed in action. Up until the Battle of Nightfall, he was known as one of the top fighter pilots in the 51st Legion.
Lieutenant Thrace was the proverbial wrench in the gears for not only the 51st Legion, but for my own goals as well. I seemed to run into him quite often, and he always had something to say and always had some advice to give. Whether or not it was good advice is another question.
Could you give us an example of the sort of advice that he would give you?
Yes, I can. One of the instances that comes to mind is I was the pilot. I come from generations of pilots. I've been flying since I was a child, but Lieutenant Thrace very much enjoyed hailing me. He seemed to enjoy hailing me to tell me exactly how I needed to fly my ship in my business to meet his satisfaction. And I don't think that he gave that particular special attention to other pilots, but I don't know. I haven't met a lot of other young female pilots, but I will say this now, that if that was something he made a habit of doing, please feel free to contact me. We can get together and talk about it sometimes, because I know that I have a lot to say on the subject.
I'm afraid that we're running low on time in your interview here, and we'll have to move on. Do you not trust the Force Special Operations Group? Admittedly, the 51st Legion did have its problems, but this is a different force.
I'm still unconvinced that this isn't the same organization with a different face. The Sah'iir have always been on the fringe. They haven't been accepted. They don't have a voice in either solar system or intergalactic politics until now. And they are a trusting people. They are a generous people. And it would be incredibly easy for multiple other organizations to take advantage of that fact. And they use my presence as somebody who sincerely has their best interests at heart, but also understands how various other forms of government, militia, and military operate on the grand scale.
You say the Sah'iir are trusting, but they've kept the Ansible technology very close to their chest or thorax. I'm not sure exactly what they look like. After all, no one's seen them under their cloaks. So you say that they are so trusting, but they don't reveal the methods behind the technology that they implement for the hegemony, and they don't even reveal themselves.
Other peoples and other organizations have proven over time that they are willing to take advantage of the Sah'iir, and it's under the recommendation of people such as myself that they not release technology that has the potential to upend every form of government that we have, because the Sah'iir can trust themselves with it, but they can't vouch for anybody else. So making said technology open source would only serve to incite chaos. And this way, it's not being militarized and it's not being used for various other nefarious purposes that I'm sure a whole myriad of other people could imagine.
You're saying that the Force Special Operations Group will not be able to use the Ansible to communicate back to the core worlds?
They'll be able to arrange something with the Sah'iir, but it's not something that they're going to hand over for free.
Things being available at a price, I think, is something that all hegemonic citizens are very accustomed to.
I would agree.
Since the Chancery is Sah'iir's sovereign territory, they could theoretically grant asylum to fugitives and outcasts. Will the Sah'iir grant any such requests?
Currently, the Sah'iir are focused on organizing and facilitating a good relationship with various other law-abiding organizations. While their territory is their own, the question of granting asylum is far, far in the future. I highly doubt that there's going to be any sort of, pilgrimage to go meet the Sah'iir. I don't see the Sah'iir opening their doors to any random visitor or official who has the whim to come visit.
HNN has confirmed the presence of an Urbot on the Chancery grounds from Conclave 01, a collection of rogue Urbots allegedly displaying free will. Will the Sah'iir surrender it to the Guild of Engineers for corrective maintenance, or continue to possess it against hegemonic law?
The idea of an Urbot with free will sounds absolutely ludicrous. Jeeves, what do you think?
I am programmed to serve your every need, Mara, and I can only operate within the parameters that you provide, whether it be transmitting a message or drawing you a bath.
Thank you, Jeeves.
Perhaps you could escort the Guild of Engineers to this rogue Urbot when they come by for Jeeves' maintenance. If, of course, the Urbot is still on Chancery grounds.
If somebody has been careless enough to leave their property somewhere on Chancery grounds, they may contact me directly, and if I find it, I will do my best to return it. But we will not be inviting any open-ended investigations.
The final thing I want to ask is, what is it like working with Xenos such as the Sah'iir?
I can tell you that thus far I've really enjoyed it. They treat everybody with a base level of respect that I appreciate. However, they don't necessarily cater to the hierarchies that we find in other places. I'm sure, as you can tell from my last name, I come from an aristocratic house. However, that means nothing to them. They respect me for my skills and abilities and my willingness to work with them.
It sounds like a very different environment from the Hegemony. If anyone was interested, do you still have space for additional security forces or other servants for the Sah'iir?
Space is limited, and I would urge to not let that discourage you if you're interested. I will warn you that the interview process is thorough, as is the background check. I personally handle all of the security for those who would work directly with the Sah'iir. We will not tolerate threats to their independence or to the Ansible.
Keeping the Ansible safe is obviously of primary concern now to everyone in the sector and even in the core worlds. And I think we're glad to have such a skilled person running security for the Sah'iir. Thanks again for joining us, Commander Endecourt.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for the such high praise from the Hegemonic News Network.
That is Chancery Security Commander Mara Endecourt of the Sah'iir Ansible installation. Chance and Chef Aiken are offering a new dining experience to Procyon's A-lift system, but you may want to bring some scopolamine. HNN's Maddox Alkin reports.
I'm sitting at a flat-top grill like you'd see in any teppanyaki joint. Behind it is Chef Aiken. He's currently pulling the rings from an onion and stacking them in a cone, set up for the classic onion volcano. But just then, the gravity of the room is cut. We and our food start floating up. Aiken pulls a lighter from his apron and sets fire to the oil inside the onion cone. With a flex of his knees, he launches himself into the air.
Choo, 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 choo.
Aiken deftly flies between our party members, holding the onions far in front of him on a spatula.
Look out, cow on tracks.
He tosses the chimney back at our uncooked Wagyu steak, now floating a foot above the grill. I instinctively hold my arm in front of my eyes to shield them from flying meat and vegetables, but gravity resumes just in time. The onions and beef fall back to the grill, and I fall back into my chair. Aiken gracefully lands behind the grill, spins the spatula twice, and grins.
Okay, who had the shrimp?
After our meal, I had a chance to talk with Chef Aiken. Everything was excellent. My compliments to the chef.
Thank you.
So how did you come up with this concept? Zero-gravity cooking makes me think of freeze-dried ice cream and runaway fires.
My first job was in a food shuttle. The owner was such a tight ass. If we snuck a fry, he deducted from our pay. When our gravity generator broke, he told us, if you can't work in 0G, then you're not going to work. He finally got a replacement 2 months later and activated it during our lunch rush. Apparently, there was a health inspector in orbit that day. Let me tell you, I still have some scars from that surprise.
That doesn't sound like the sort of experience you'd want to recreate.
Well, no. It came about like this. Last year, the Straylight hosted a troupe of variable gravity aerialists. Chance and I were at the show, and I joked about my variable gravity experience as a junior cook. Chance got quiet for a bit and told me I should do some real variable gravity cooking. After the show, they introduced me to troop's leader, Corvin. Next thing you know, I was losing my lunch in midair.
Sounds like you had a great teacher.
Corvin was my trainer, choreographer, and taster. I joke that's really his show. I just do the cooking.
It looks like your next table is here. I'll let you get back to it.
See you again soon.
Chef Aiken's flying dining experience is available for the next 3 weeks. Dinner is 1 cred per person, not including drinks or gratuity. Chance asked diners who suffer from space sickness to try one of the Straylight's more traditional dining experiences. For HNN, I'm Maddox Alkin on Warren.
You're listening to HNN.
Getting proper medical care in the outer sectors can be difficult, even for those with substantial resources. But what about the less fortunate? Up till now, their only option was the mendicants, a cult of artifact thieves who were purged in the last hegemonic ascension. They continue to persist, working those who don't realize the cure is worse than the disease. A better option is now available to these poor souls, thanks to Doctors Without Jump Gates. Dr. Nita Hill is the group's founder. She joins us now. Welcome.
Hi, Quinton. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining us on Stellar Analysis. First off here, what inspired you to create Doctors Without Jump Gates?
Quinton, my entire life I felt an obligation to care for others. And especially in my travels on the Star Dancer, I noticed that healthcare was not consistently available across the sector. I feel that everyone should have healthcare regardless of species or affiliations. I founded Doctors Without Jump Gates so that we can provide medical aid where it is needed most.
You actually started doing charitable work in Procyon sector before starting Doctors Without Jump Gates. I understand you once treated the son of SB-176 station chief.
I was on SB-176 with my crew, and there was an accident involving a rental car that got out of control. The station chief asked me to assist the medical team as they rarely have pediatric trauma on SB-176. Thankfully, he's made a full recovery.
Ah, that's good to hear. So your work on the Star Dancer must have put you in close contact with the Sah'iir. I was wondering, can you tell us anything about them? For example, do you know what's under their robes?
Well, Quinton, I can't tell you what is under their robes. That's under doctor-patient confidentiality.
I see. So you acquired the nickname Juggler due to all of the metaphorical balls you have in the air. What keeps you busy outside of the charitable work?
I feel obligated to stay busy to ensure everyone everywhere has access to health care. When I'm not with patients, I'm either fundraising or giving talks across the sector to promote our cause. Doctors Without Jump Gates is an independent organization. We take no funding from any government. Our independence allows us to go where many other organizations can't or won't.
This independent funding, where exactly is it coming from?
We only accept donations from individual donors. We do not accept donations from companies or governments. So this is all funded by the people for the people. And the average donation is under 1 cred. Even you can donate today.
I'm sorry, Doctor, we don't allow for charitable solicitations on our programs, thank you. One of your specialties is xenobiology. Has Procyon provided any research opportunities for you?
Procyon has provided many research opportunities for Doctors Without Jump Gates. Some of those include partnering with Smiles Without Jump Gates on a dentistry program, where we're researching the impacts of water quality across the sector. Another thing we've been doing is partnering with the Academy in Shemaiah, where we're working on a xeno-otolaryngology study.
Part of Doctors Without Jump Gates' mission will be to provide medical care for aliens. How do you do so?
I'm glad you asked. We've worked very hard to find representatives within the alien community who have medical expertise and have also been to medical schools for some of them. And we've recruited them to come work with us with Doctors Without Jump Gates so that we can provide medical care to all people, all aliens, all species. Everyone deserves medical care.
Dr. Hill, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Quinton.
That was Dr. Nita Hill of Doctors Without Jump Gates. This is HNN.
And you're listening to Stellar Analysis on Ansible Relay, KPRO 54.1. It's 1639. Corn Zavir has been watching traffic. We'll check in with her now for the latest.
Well, on Indri, Reve's spaceport is diverting all traffic due to a solar flare disabling the port's nav beacons. Indri authorities are seeding the clouds above Reve to clear the air for visual approach. The Rin Ecliptus jump gate is back in operation and queue times are now down to 20 minutes.
Rin Iota is a 10-minute wait, and Iota Breck just 5 minutes. Support for KPRO traffic comes to us from the Turner Society. I'm Corin Zavir. And support for our programming comes from Teatro Alecchino. Nestled in the heart of Yaw, Teatro Alecchino presents live shows accompanied by food and cocktails, featuring first-run theater, live music, and the Zeno in Conversation series. A unique show every nightfall. Teatro Alecchino, Nightfall, 6 Hotel 73 Kilo. On the next Sunlight Dispatch, the harrowing breakout of Maelstrom pirate queen Alanda Ryle from Isotropa Max Secure. Oh, we've had incidents before, but never a way monster incursion. The death of Guard Captain Krell was a tremendous blow. He's still with us in a way, what with his pre-recorded security announcements.
Attention, filthy prisoners! All your hopes have been flushed down a toilet and fallen into a black hole from which nothing escapes. Nothing! Just like you have been flushed. I mean, there is no escape. I am Krell.
Here's Sunlight Dispatch weekdays starting at 0600 on 54.1 KPRO. And a bit of breaking news. Renowned lawyer Sol Brighton has just confirmed she will be representing Ritam Malklaith in his upcoming treason trial. The disgraced former governor was rumored to be receiving advice from Brighton, but has had a revolving cast of litigation attorneys until now. Tune in to our special coverage of the trial next Lundo at 0800.
Support for HNN comes from this station. Other contributors include the Makers Guild, providing clones for menial work so the Hegemony can concentrate on important matters. Second-generation janitorial models are now available with newly optimized viscera cleanup routines. Contact your local Makers Guild representative for more details. Sriracha Rebreathers. Designed to capture dust, spores, and other antigens, Sriracha Rebreathers' 12 layers of self-cleaning nanofibers keep users safe from injury lung. Find Sriracha Rebreathers at your local industrial safety outfitter. This is Stellar Analysis from HNN. I'm Quinton Feris.
And I'm Jeric Zan. Many hegemonic citizens have experienced injury or loss due to the questionable practices of Procyon shuttle rental for MegaHertz. However, some suffered more than just excessive fees and bruises. HNN's Rampart Veland talked to a number of people seeking restitution and shared this report.
If you've rented a ground shuttle on Procyon, you've probably heard something like this. Welcome to MegaHertz, where customer satisfaction comes first. How can I serve your transportation needs today?
But soon that will all change. In a joint press conference with the Counters Guild, MegaHertz announced the liquidation of its concern.
Here at MegaHertz, we are always looking for new ways to serve our valued customers. Today, we are announcing our most ambitious change yet. In the coming weeks, you will start to see new faces at MegaHertz franchises.
These new faces will be franchise owners and their employees. The transition is expected to happen over the next 2 weeks. Franchisees will inherit MegaHertz's monopoly on shuttle rental. Jean Marak took over MegaHertz's Sahandra franchise last week. He thought the monopoly rights would be worth it, but has encountered some explosive problems.
I've been a cab driver on Sahandra for over 15 years. Once the Rinholt gate opened back up, MegaHertz came in with all its new equipment and that damn monopoly rule. Ran me out of business overnight. When it pulled out again, I got me some of that new equipment cheap. While taking inventory of my new fleet, one of the shuttles exploded. Reckon 3 more, and my arm. Won't be surprised if MegaHertz sabotaged every last one. Damn vindictive son of a bitch.
Another mystery is MegaHertz's staffing. All MegaHertz employees, from agents to maintenance, and even the spokesperson at today's press conference, appear to be the same acne-riddled young man. Cloned workforces are usually managed by the Yaru, also known as the Makers Guild. The Yaru have vehemently denied involvement ever since the emergence of MegaHertz, citing their inability to create intelligent clones.
I have questionable experience with MegaHertz shuttles. It seems everyone I get into is somehow rigged with explosives. Not sure whether it's them out to get me, or just their poor maintenance standards.
Jet Guile is a freelance shipboard mechanic. He claims his knowledge and thoughts were stolen by MegaHertz.
We'd gone in to do a job. We were doing, a little repair, a little asset recovery, you might say. And all of a sudden my head felt a little lighter. Actually physically lighter, like a chunk of my brain had been removed. And that's when I started to wonder what really happened here.
After the incident, Jet could remember important things, but little things escaped him.
Where did I put that wrench? I'm not the type of person that forgets where I put my tools. And it was so weird because they were the totally trivial bits. The really important stuff, how do you fix a warp drive, all that stuff was still there.
Since then, the holes have gotten bigger. During our interview, Jet even struggled to recall his claims.
Where did MegaHertz come into all this? Definitely have some, I've had some run-ins with those people, but are you suggesting that maybe MegaHertz is who stole my memories?
The incident occurred just before MegaHertz brought all of its maintenance in-house. It was previously performed by external contractors. Jet literally wrote the book on shuttle maintenance.
Intergalactic engineering for beginners. It's everything you need to know about how to build a spaceship, how to repair it, tear down a spaceship that you already have and rebuild it from the ground up. It covers absolutely everything. And I'm sure that MegaHertz would find it completely useful for their shuttle maintenance programs. The book isn't even that expensive. If you go to a college bookstore, you can easily get it for under a cred. Just barely under a cred, though. It's a big book. Stealing people's thoughts is not okay, especially when you're trying to steal specialized engineering knowledge that took a lifetime to build.
For the time being, Jet can still recall fond memories of his former crew.
I really miss that Conway guy. Still hear some of his broadcasts on the Ansible network, and that guy played a mean game of poker. And our pilot was second to none. She really knew what was going on, and she knew how to drive a ship. I could maintain that ship, but she was the one who really ran it. Dr. Hill was great. You know, she really took care of everything. And the Merc. You know, Zale, no matter where we went, if we ran into a military type, he knew them. He could get us past whatever bullshit they were guarding. You know, everybody on the Star Dancer was just top notch. Some of my favorite people in the entire galaxy.
It remains to be seen just how many suffered from MegaHertz's illegal practices. Anyone harmed by MegaHertz may contact the Counters Guild for possible compensation.
MegaHertz is a terrible company. They put their customer first. More like stealing their customers' thoughts first. Not okay.
Rampart Wieland, HNN, Nightfall. Conway Orcutt is the Sah'iir's reverberation representative and formerly the host of HNN's The Khan's Way. Mr. Orcutt, welcome to the program.
Golly! It's weird to hear my life summed up in something as little as 3 sentences.
Well, what an exciting life it's been. You've stepped away from The Khan's Way here, a very popular show on our network. What was your reason for doing that? How do you explain that to, your, probably, frankly, disappointed listeners?
When I started The Khan's Way, my space Rion was quick to climb up into the ranks of, I think last time I checked, my space Rion had me at the top 10% of creators.
I believe that's correct.
By the way, I'm just going to briefly plug my space Rion here. You can still get content. I'm still putting out some Conway gems, or cuts, if you will.
Well, I'm sure that's a relief for your Space Rion subscribers.
You know, I had a bit of a midlife crisis. I guess I just felt it would be dishonest to continue the show with the same format. I built that show on a foundation of general positivity. And then my life reached a point where I found myself at a nexus between a terrible truth and a horror unseen. Because when you peek behind the veil and see the darkness that lies therein, there's no coming back from that. And my role as the space preacher Conway Orcutt was for you to grab me by the hand so I could show you the way. And unfortunately, my friend, if you grab me by the hand, I'm just as likely to cut your arm off rather than let you take this walk with me.
Is the way something no longer to be shared, or is it too dangerous to come along with you?
The very first question I had after my first encounter with the Sah'iir, well, I phrased it like this. I said, can you imagine what life would be like living in as many bodies as you had voices in your head? This hive-minded creature was fascinating to me. You see, he and I talked ourselves into a circle about the theological concept that would or would not govern a being with more than one body. So does the standard of the way apply to you as an individual any more the same or different than it would to a being made up of many bodies? And that, my friend, is how you confuse an audience and move on to the next question.
Okay. I guess we can move on.
You bet your bottom dollar.
We're not that interested in theological questions here, I think. One thing we are interested in, though, is the Ansible. I understand you were part of the contractors that retrieved it and helped with its installation.
Just to be clear, you're referring to the star Lancer, Prancer, Dancer, Trancer, Cancer? Which one?
I think it was the Star Dancer that helped out with that.
That was the ship I was on. We had problems being mistaken for the Trancer, Lancer, Prancer, Cancer, so on and so forth.
So what did it take to set up the Ansible? Any insight that you can shed on it?
You want some insight?
Yes.
I'll tell you like my papi used to say to me. Sometimes it's nice driving to the brink just to get a view.
Well, not too much insight there. I suppose...
Excuse me, that is a good line. I'm gonna need you to appreciate that. I know I didn't answer your question in the way that you wanted me to, and that's kind of the point here, is you're giving me bits of information. You're trying to pull information from me that I don't want to give, but I ask it in the right way and something might slip. That's the game we're playing, is it not?
I'm sorry, Mr. Orcutt. I'm not trying to play a game with you here. I'm just trying to help inform our listeners.
But you see, conversation is like a waltz, and a waltz is a lot like a dance. You've got to keep your steps in place, because if you don't, you might break somebody's face.
Well, I hope we don't have any injuries in this interview. It seems difficult with the remote nature. The Sah'iir have been shrouded in mystery for many years. Quite literally, in fact, as the central hosts are never seen without their dark hooded cloaks. Tell me, are you a central host? Have you become an echo? What's your relationship here?
Relationships. They're an interesting thing. You may recall that one of my very first bits featured a relationship I was quite fond of between a man named Hex and another man named Cord. When I said there is no home for a guild defector in my first episode, what we can extrapolate from that is there is no home for one who leaves his place in society. There is no gain for the black booked. And I remember my mama's advice. She said, in the darkest of times, look for the dimmest of lights. I'm a dim light, my friend, and the Sah'iir are the black of the night. To the fans who are disappointed to see the old me dead and gone, the new me is on its way.
So, perhaps a new show in the future then?
Mm-hmm. It's still going to be called The Con's Way, but the font will be different, and that's how you can differentiate.
You'll have to talk to our producers with how to handle that for the audio broadcast.
It's actually going to be 1 part audio broadcast and 1 part interactive adventure. It's going to be, I've got this big idea for a project, see, and I'm looking for a couple of investors.
Well, I wish you the best of luck with that.
So that's a no? Oh, one more thing before I let you go. I've been hearing some of your promotional material regarding Conway Orcutt, and I gotta say, it is mighty disingenuous of you folk to not include my credentials. I am Conway Orcutt, space preacher. I gotta make like a bad date and escape. Keep your saddle oiled and your guns greased, folks. My name is Conway Orcutt, space preacher. It's a mighty big universe, folks. But you stick with me, and I'll show you the way.
Thanks for joining us, Mr. Orcutt.
My pleasure, partner.
You're listening to Stellar Analysis. Have a broken down shuttle costing you docking fees? Why not turn that shuttle into your favorite programs and news? KPRO has partnered with Jeric's Junkyard to accept your unwanted shuttle, ship, transport, or freighter. Jeric's Junkyard will sell your vessel, and the net proceeds will go to supporting your local Ansible relay station. Vessels are accepted in any condition.
Play all the Malklaith lawyers.
Retrieving, please wait.
Juliet. This is ĵaŭdo, host of KPRO's Port Starboard and Aft. You're listening to All the Malklaith's Lawyers, a special series from Port Starboard and Aft. This show is all about House Malklaith's extensive legal issues. They bring up really good questions about fealty oaths, treason, and whether it is possible to be too ignorant to be part of a criminal conspiracy. There's so many lawyers, lawsuits, and summary executions, it was clear we need to devote some time each week to answering these legal questions. So I called Ben Brown. Ben Brown is a criminal defense attorney and a former hegemonic prosecutor. He's my co-host and legal navigator on this show. Hello, Ben.
Hello, Yost.
So, Ben, is Sol Brighton a good lawyer?
Well, Brighton is an excellent intellectual property attorney and has an impressive list of former clients that includes the Counters Guild and HNN. If Governor Retom needed that expertise, she would be a good choice. But the governor is under indictment for high crimes against the hegemony. Let me put it to you this way. If you got run over by a hovercraft, you probably wouldn't ask the ambulance to take you to a plastic surgeon for facial reconstruction surgery. The Malklaiths do have business interests to protect, but their first priority should really be their lives, not their livelihoods.
Governor Retom drew long-suffering hegemonic Judge Shim for his treason case. However, Shim may recluse himself due to allegations that he previously accepted bribes from Retom in exchange for favorable rulings. How likely is it for Shim to recluse himself in this case? If he doesn't recluse himself, what do you see happening next?
Yes, Jeeves.
I foresee a near 100% chance that Shim would recluse.
From the Hegemonic News Network, I'm Jonas DeMarco. This is the Quotidian. Today, after years in the shadows, a group of precursor worshippers based in the Ashtari cloud emerged to extol the Ansible and an upcoming astronomical alignment. My colleague, Stacy Weathers, spoke to Malklaith about her role in the Ashtari cult and its claims. It's ĵaŭdo 260s. Malklaith has
Jeeves,
been the de facto
just
leader
give me
of
some
the
music.
Ashtari cult for the past 10 years. I'm actually Leland, Game Master. Thanks for listening to Stellar Analysis, an extended epilogue of our Scum and Villainy campaign, which ran from April through September 2020. I'd like to thank my players for 20 amazing sessions, and for responding to my callback to record live in-character interviews, which were then adapted into this program. Featuring Luke as Zale Bartok, Scoundrel, Mike as Jet Guile, Mechanic, Kate as Dr. Nita Juggler Hill, Stitch, Samantha as Mara Endecourt, Pilot, and Benjamin as Conway Orcutt, Space Preacher. All other character performances and audio production by the Game Master. Morning Edition theme by BJ Liederman. All Things Considered theme by Don Bagley. Arranged by Wycliffe Gordon, Thievery Corporation, and Robin Hilton. The Daily theme by Wonderly. All the President's Lawyers theme by Todd M. Simon, recreated poorly by Leland. Sound effects by PMSFX and Mental Chemi. Scum and Villainy created by Strauss Achimovich and John LeBeouf Little, based on Blades in the Dark by John Harper.
Learn more at offguardgames.com.
Special thanks to my independent station, KNKX 88.5 Tacoma, Seattle, for connecting me to jazz, blues, and NPR news. Also, NPR's free training website, which taught me a lot about writing for radio, editing, and mixing. And finally, my family and friends for putting up with my incessant talk about this project. You should have dated the Snake Assassin. Good morning. The Ansible is the most valuable artifact in Procyon sector, and possibly the Quadrant. The face of the Hegemony may be changed by this new communications platform. It's Sunlight Dispatch from HNN. The Battle of Nightfall saw the removal of Governor Ritam al-Malklaith and left the 51st Legion in tatters. I'm Jeric.
And I'm Quinton Feris. Long-reviled shuttle rental firm MegaHertz is being dissolved. Also, why were the Sah'iir granted sovereign territory on Nightfall? Their security commander Mara Endecourt says the Sah'iir are perhaps too trusting. And what alternatives exist for charitable medical care? It's ĵaŭdo, 260s, and the end of Conway Orcutt's long-running program, The Con's Way. The news is next. And you're listening to Stellar Analysis on Ansible Relay KPRO 54.1. It's time for me to discover what time this should be at this point. Other members of the Concordant Knights have previously collaborated with the Mendicants. Collaborated on very vulgar noises.
Items are stolen despite your best security efforts, or maybe you hit your stand with your hand, and it just totally ruins the take. Look, Quinton, you're still interrupting me. Damn it, Quinton. And not deciding on if you're going to say hegemony or hegemony.
That's all well and good, but surely some factions should never be brought into the fold. Could you commit right now on air? Yeah?
So there were lots of injuries to the crew aboard the Star Dancer?
Occasionally there were small injuries from time to time. Nothing too major. Everyone survived.
I made such an impact charitably that they gave me a degree in xeno-otolaryngology. The 60 Hector. Durr. Gotta get me one of those 60-hectare campuses. Sail across the open sea. Jet literally broke the book. Broke the book. The book has been broken.
You just have to grab a wrench, and you just have to take it to the ship. And sometimes it's not broken. But what you're going for is you're trying to fix the ship, even though it's not broken. It's called improvements. Where is that 7/16 socket that I need for that hyperspace span configurator? It was weird.
Your ship doesn't use the metric system?
We've got one of those older ships.
That's not up to hegemonic spec.
Those old Imperial ships. It's kind of a mix of measures is the thing. We've done some aftermarket work on it, so there's a little bit of metric here around the edge, but the core of it is an Imperial vessel. What would you like to talk about? Drinking? Shooting? Repair of spaceships? I've got all of that covered for you. If you need to drink and shoot while repairing your spaceship, perfect. Worried about the Sah'iir? I can shoot them.
Pew, pew.
We got both types of recreational activities, drinking and shooting.
Jeric's junkyard also buys ships and pods. Ships are accompanied in any condition. Shit is accepted in any condition, from factory new to total shit. How may I serve your transportation? Crapportation. Crap.